Captain Vexera of the Stellar Concordance looked at the human recruit with barely concealed disdain. While her Zealothy warriors carried sleek energy weapons and nanofabric armor, Private Jake Sullivan stood there with what looked like an oversized cloth bag strapped to his back. "What is that thing?" Vexera's mandibles clicked with amusement. "My backpack, ma'am," Sullivan replied, adjusting the straps of his olive-green rucksack. "We're embarking on a survival mission to Zirion 3, one of the deadliest planets in the sector, and you bring a bag?" She gestured to her troops' equipment. "We have molecular compression units, plasma shields, atmospheric processors. The Corvani brought bioadaptation suits. Even the Threnodidae have gravitic survival pods. And you have fabric and straps." The other species joined in the mockery. Zirion 3 had killed every expedition in the last 50 years. The human would be dead within hours. Sullivan just smiled. "It's got everything I need, ma'am." "Everything?" Vexera laughed. "In that primitive sack?" 72 pounds of gear, Captain. 3 days of supplies, more if I ration." The Zealothy warriors exchanged amused glances. Their compression units could hold 10 times that in a device the size of a communicator. Humans truly were a backward species. The dropship released them onto Zirion 3's surface just as the acid storms began. The planet's atmosphere could dissolve most materials within minutes, and the winds reached speeds that would shred unprotected flesh. "Shields up," Vexera commanded. Her troops activated their plasma barriers, glowing bubbles of energy that repelled the acid rain. The Corvani's biosuits secreted protective mucus. The Threnodidae deployed their gravitic pods, hovering safely above the corrosive ground. Sullivan pulled a tarp from his backpack. "Is he serious?" A Zealothy warrior sneered, watching the human unfold what looked like a simple plastic sheet. But as Sullivan worked, the aliens fell silent. He'd driven stakes into the ground at precise angles, creating a lean-to that deflected the wind. The tarp wasn't just plastic. It was some kind of treated material that the acid couldn't penetrate. Within 3 minutes, he had a functional shelter. "That's adequate," Vexera admitted grudgingly. But when the temperature drops to -60 at nightfall, Sullivan was already pulling more items from his pack. A sleeping bag emerged, compressed impossibly small. Then a portable stove, water purification tablets, chemical heat packs, rope, a medical kit, emergency rations, signaling devices. "How is all that fitting in there?" a Corvani asked, their biosuit rippling with confusion. "Tetris," Sullivan replied, as if that explained everything. Night fell. The Zealothy's plasma shields began failing. The cold drained their power cells faster than anticipated. The Corvani's biosuits went dormant, unable to maintain heat generation in the extreme cold. The Threnodidae's gravitic pods iced over and crashed. Sullivan's shelter held. He dug a cold trap at the entrance, lined the floor with insulating material from his pack, and had his stove creating a warm microclimate. He was actually making soup while aliens with advanced technology froze around him. "Get in here," he called out, expanding his shelter with additional tarps and emergency blankets from his seemingly bottomless pack. "Impossible," Vexera shivered as she crowded into the human's shelter. "Our technology is centuries ahead of yours." "Your technology needs power," Sullivan explained, adding dried vegetables to his soup. "My gear just needs me knowing how to use it. Learned from my grandpa. He called it bushcraft." By morning, the situation was critical. The acid storms had intensified, and most of the alien equipment had failed completely. They needed rescue, but their emergency beacons had dissolved. Sullivan reached into a side pocket of his backpack and pulled out a mirror. "You're going to signal with light reflection?" Vexera asked. "In an acid storm?" "Nah." Sullivan angled the mirror carefully. "But the survey satellite passes overhead every 18 hours. The mirror's treated with a coating that reflects through the acid clouds. Learned that in Boy Scouts." Sure enough, within an hour, rescue ships locked onto their position. As they evacuated, Vexera studied Sullivan's backpack with new respect. "What else is in there?" Sullivan grinned and pulled out a pack of cards. "Figured we might get bored." The after-action report would puzzle Concordance analysts for years. How had a human with primitive equipment survived when advanced technology failed? The answer was simple but hard for them to accept. Humans didn't trust technology. They trusted knowledge. Sullivan's backpack became legendary among the Concordance forces. Not for what it contained, but for what it represented, the human ability to turn simple objects into survival tools through sheer ingenuity. New regulations were issued. All survival missions would include at least one human with a backpack. Vexera herself traded her compression unit for a human-style pack. When asked why, she'd say, "Technology fails. Tarps don't need batteries." Sullivan continued serving, his backpack getting more worn with each mission. When other species asked what made human gear special, he'd always give the same answer. "It's not the gear. It's knowing that everything's useful if you're creative enough. This backpack is just canvas and straps. But in human hands, it's a mobile survival system. We've been perfecting this for thousands of years. We call it camping,